Friends, the first installment of my Sephora Sale Haul. I placed an order online, but unfortunately it will not arrive until this Friday. Sephora didn't bother to offer expedited shipping options. It just said it's arriving when it arrives. And I said, okay, fine. This video is featuring the products I purchased in Sephora. It was split into two parts. I made an online order, bought some stuff in person. And if you want to check out my quick and dirty first impressions, I posted shorts sharing the products that I bought because I just couldn't wait to try them on, and I wanted to post it online so you could get a little bit of that, first product open enthusiasm as well. And I made sure I have my footage on standby because I like sharing first impressions, but I think it's more helpful for me to also demonstrate these products and also share what I think or how I think best to apply them with what products and what my skin type is, what my expectations are, to give you better ideas, to give you context around these newer items. And I have to start off with the Westman Atelier bronzing drops. This was a shocker of a product. Initially, well, that's not true. Initially, yes, I had it in the basket, but then I said, you are also buying the VBB, Victoria Beckham Beauty bronzing brick. Do you really need another bronzing product? Well, yes, I do. Put it back in the basket, but it was actually available in my local Sephora, and I purchased shade 3, which is described to be a deep tan. Now, it's funny, I watched our friend Charlotte Hallcroft. Hi, Charlotte! A Nightmare Come True. I thought that was such a clever title, as she expressed her apprehension towards liquid types of cheek products, and she bought shade number 4. And Charlotte's lighter than me. So I'm like, should I get number 4? I'm not entirely sure. Even if I wanted to, only shades 1 through 3 were available in Sephora. I could have ordered 4, but I thought that was a little overkill. So I decided to stick with number 3. And I wanted to find out the capacity of this bronzing product. Can I apply it with fingers? And if not, with what type of brush? How does it function on foundation, on bare skin? So I started off with bare skin, and just to give you an idea of my condition, I am dealing with post-blemish hyperpigmentation due to my own picking, okay? This is just because I can't keep my hands off my skin, but I have to say, it looks terrible on camera, but not too bad in person. Nevertheless, there is unevenness of skin tone, and I am aware that the bronzing drops are not formulated to even out my skin tone. That's more for a tint or a dedicated foundation. I just wanted to see if I were going super minimalist one day and just wanted to throw on a tan effect, what would happen if I tapped on the bronzing drops with fingers. And I could tell you immediately, one of the downsides to this product is that it leaks. It's like already the spout is a mess, the inside of the lid, the cap is a mess. I have to go in there with a Q-tip and just kind of clean that up, but just be wary of the potential mess that this bronzing drop bottle can cause. And here is a quick swatch of the product. You could check out the texture here, and allow me to actually read. My apologies for not having this pulled up already. I'm on the Westman Atelier website. This retails for $58, and why I wanted to get 20% off of this guy. Perfectly balanced bronze tones for sun-kissed summer skin. Buildable, blendable formula delivers a realistic dose of warmth while nourishing the skin. And ways of wear, we have wear all over the face for wash of warmth. For more targeted bronze, apply anywhere the sun would naturally hit, cheeks, temples, forehead. Can be used on bare skin or foundation. Shake well, apply with fingers or a brush for a refined finish. Now, unfortunately for me, despite how lovely this online demonstration looks, maybe I need to try again with my finger application, but my outcome was different, and I think it's because I placed the bronzing drops way too low on my cheeks. I should have started a little higher, maybe in on the hollows of the cheeks, so that the color wouldn't appear muddy on my complexion. So that's user error on my part. And also, the model's skin is far better than mine. I'm sure they have something on there that gives their skin just like that glowy kind of like glass skin texture, and I'm not giving that, obviously, but I can see the potential of these bronzing drops to appear even with a finger tap. Now, I did actually try to finger tap my bronzing drops on top of foundation yesterday. I did so over the Givenchy Glow Serum Foundation, and my application wasn't as even there either, because I think naturally when you go in with fingers on top of a foundation or even a tint, you naturally will lift off that makeup from underneath, and that's kind of what happened to me. The bronzing effect was there, but it didn't appear as even as I would have liked, as opposed to if I would have went in with a brush. So I decided to move on, apply the Glow Serum Foundation in this demonstration, and wanted to try 3 different brushes actually. First, I went in with Sonia's Sheer Buffer, a goated brush for these types of textures. It applies a wash of color, but also allows control so that the application will not appear splotchy or uneven, but more washed out and diffused. And you can see how beautifully placed the bronzing drops now appear here after a brush application versus my atrocious attempt to apply this with fingers, right? I much prefer this outcome. My skin appears more even just from the foundation, and the bronzing drops definitely now I can capitalize on their benefits in this way. My skin looks bronzed, but it doesn't look muddy or dirty, and the natural sculpting effect that occurs when I apply it is beautiful, I feel. And I'm happy with number 3 because that allows me a little bit of control, where if I wanted to build up the color, I could, and that's what I did eventually on the second side. But first I wanted to go in with Bobo's owl brush, not the baby owl brush that I do use at the end of this demo. This is the Silver Fox and Psycho Goat Hair Mix that many of you were asking if that can be used with liquid or cream products. And I asked Bobo, and she had recommended that you can use liquid and creams with this brush mix, or bristle mix I should say, but make sure that you take it off from the back of your hand, that you don't directly pour that product on the bristles, because they're far too delicate to take on that amount of product at once, and you won't be able to successfully clean the bristles well, because they'll just kind of latch on to the bristles, and then you'll have to wash your brush more often, which is not great for natural hair. With that said, I swept it off the back of my hand, pounced it on this side, and you can clearly see because the brush is denser, it's going to lay down more product. Now, I didn't place as much on the back of my hand as I could have, because I was going in cautiously, just in case if the brush did plop down too much product. But you see that there's more of like a sheer wash of color there, because again, you can control the amount depending on how much drops you place either on back of hand or on a palette. And this is where I decided to test the potential of these bronzing drops, if I could build up the color a little more, kind of dial up the gradient. And when I picked up the baby owl brush and then targeted the application more in towards the hollows, so it can have a deeper tan effect in the hollows and then kind of diffuse to a lighter color near around my cheeks. And I think it's a great product. I was actually shocked by how much I like the Westman Atelier bronzing drops. Now again, I would like to redo the finger application. I think there is a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to the finger tap. Again, I will have to place it maybe higher on the cheekbones and not here. I basically placed it low and around the center of my face. That is not ideal. That was a mistake on my part. And maybe start the tap here so that the bronzing drops have somewhere to go. And I think it can leave behind a natural looking tan effect on bare skin, especially if you're one to go minimalist with your makeup, if you're not one to wear foundation, but you dig a liquid bronzing product, then I will look into the Westman Atelier. There's also no fragrance. Let me try and see here. I didn't see any pearl in the formula. It is marketed to be a matte but hydrating product. So when I apply this on my skin, and again, this was on top of the Glow foundation from Givenchy, so we're talking about more of a natural skin finish, not soft matte. A little soft matte on me because I'm on the drier part of the spectrum. It leaves behind a little bit of a sheen, which I like. And if you wanted to powder it down, you could, but if you are dry skin, these will not dry you out. It will actually appear natural on the blend and has a nice healthy look to the skin, boost the complexion, if you will. And this is where I wanted to compare the bronzing drops to these products. Remember these guys that released last year, the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum with the Saie Dew Bronze. Ooh, these came out like around the same time, and it was funny. This year is all about the blush. Last year, I felt it was all about the bronzer, or maybe 2024 and 2025 are all about the cheek products in general. And this was an interesting setup because not only did you have a pump option, but you also have a doe foot option. This is in the shade medium and a little warmer than the Westman Atelier bronzing drops. Stinson from Saie, I think, does it have a number here? No. The shade before Stinson was actually marketed to be more for my medium skin tone, but I could get away with this depending on the brush type. If I used Sonia's Sheer Buffer, it would have been fine. And now to quickly compare these two swatches with the Westman Atelier, and definitely kind of takes on the same shade or undertone as Stinson. Well, actually the same shade or depth, but you can see Stinson has a little more red in there. The Westman Atelier drops in 3 is more of a neutral undertone, right? So it does have a little bit of that sculpting effect, which I like, and maybe you could have seen on the footage and the stills provided. And the Makeup by Mario probably could have went a shade up, but I like the option of combining this with foundation or being a little more liberal with the application, right? Can't be as liberal with these shades, but with this shade, a little more golden brown for sure. Probably have to film a showdown of myself applying all these products again to regain my memory on how they perform and whatnot. But if you're wondering about the swatch comparisons, well, here they are. I wanted to hop directly into this lipstick, and I have to laugh every time I read. There's so many names to the Givenchy lipstick. You ready? It's the Rose Perfecto Shine Serum Lipstick. Intense Serum Lipstick Plumping Care. Wet Radiance Effect. Vibrant Color. I apply the shade 117 Rose Perfecto, and this is what I have on now. When I initially applied this on my quick and dirty first impressions, I was actually surprised by how red it looked. It could have been the lighting, it could have been my camera, how it picked up the color. When I applied it in real life, it didn't look as red, but I was unsure of the color because based off the photos from the product page on Sephora, it looked more like a dark brown, which is what I was expecting. And yes, I did try it on in Sephora. I cleaned that sucker with just a lot of alcohol, just so you know. And it did appear red in store, but for some reason when I applied it on camera, it looked even more red. And I was like, oh, is this the same lipstick? Applying it over the weekend, wearing it now, I feel better about it. I do. Now let's talk about the component. I mean, you have this faux leather material with the silver detailing on there. I like the soft fabric approach when it comes to these luxury beauty products. I think it's fun. I saw that Dior released their new palettes, the eyeshadow palettes and the mascara with the faux leather. Almost, they look like pocketbooks, mini pocketbooks. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're killing me. And this is a hybrid type of a product, as you probably are, if not already aware, just implied by the name Shine Serum Lipstick. Hybrid care and color oil infused lipstick with hyaluronic acid for 8-hour vibrant color, plumping care, and ultra shiny lips. $41, so not cheap. And online, I'm actually on the Givenchy site, and across the board, I decided to grab shade descriptions from the actual brand site and not third-party retailers because they can vary. And I'm like, I just want to know what Givenchy thinks about 117. How do they describe this color? And they describe it to be as a warm brown nude with a touch of red with golden shimmers. And I would say that's pretty accurate. Now, because it is Givenchy, it does have fragrance to the lipstick, but funny, when you smell the bullet directly, it almost has like a spicy scent to it. Reminds me of like an autumn candle I'm so serious. I was trying to identify what exactly this scent reminds me of, and it reminds me of autumn, but I don't smell that when I apply it on the lips. I just taste a little bit of that perfume. So if you're not crazy about that, and one of you has said that it was just too much for you, something to consider. But in terms of it being a lipstick, but more of like a shiny hybrid serum formula, I think it's quite interesting, and I like how it feels. It applies smoothly, shiny on the first application, but as you see, if you talk a lot or you wear it long hours of the day, it starts to dry down more, where I wouldn't say completely satin. It's still on the shiny, leans shiny still, and the presence of the gold shimmers kind of help with that effect to maintain a longer shine effect throughout the day. And I would categorize this to be like a grown and sexy shade. Like, you got the beige nudes, you got the roses, you have the glamour red, and this is what I would consider a grown and sexy type of a brown red, where I could throw it on with no makeup, maybe a little bit of a tint, maybe the bronzing drops, a little bit of blush, brows, and the complexion comes to life. I look ready, okay, prepared. And you do detect a little bit, I don't want to say gritty, but you do feel the shimmers. They don't feel rough on the lip, and they definitely have, or I would say suspended in this shine serum formula. It's smooth, it feels comfortable. Again, it is Givenchy, so you will kind of taste that perfume smell. If that's a complete turn off for you, then you could just X this off the list. But I will continue to apply this lipstick and wear it, because I think it's pretty. It's pretty. If you have problems with bleeding, it could run over your lip line. It's already kind of doing that to me. So you might have to secure it maybe with a lip liner, or just now buy this lipstick. Right? I don't mind a little bit of bleeding because it doesn't bother me as much, and it's not so severe that I would consider returning this lipstick. But I just wanted to put that out there. If that's a huge problem for you, then this will not be a great match. And you're probably wondering, Elisa, you got a lot of red brown in your lipstick collection. You are correct, and I wanted to share a few comparison swatches. Why don't we start off this demonstration, of course, with 117 from the Rose Perfecto, and the Suqqu Glaze shades that I have on standby. I had to label them because, my gosh, I would not remember which is which. Number 7, which is described to be a muted red, is not going to have as much brown as a Givenchy, but you can see that the vibe is similar. Number 9 is described to be a dark brown, and this is kind of what I was expecting from the Givenchy. Based off the product photos, I was expecting more of this, but you know, I still have the moisture glaze if I really wanted that experience. Number 10 is brown red. This is probably what I was thinking about, and a lot more muted than the Givenchy. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I much prefer the Suqqu Moisture Glaze. Not only over the Givenchy, but over all of these hybrid shiny lipstick formulas that have been flooding the market. And I'm not an expert on that because I don't have all of the lipstick products from this category of shiny lipsticks. But I could tell you right now, Suqqu Moisture Glaze is goated because it is fragrance free. There is not even a no product scent present in this lipstick, and just the colors, you can't go wrong with this color selection. Also, the texture, it's not as slippy as a Givenchy. It has more of like a creaminess to it that adheres well to the lips, and because of that, it's not going to travel or run like more of a zhuzhy hybrid lip product would. And if you were to ask me, Alicia, which of these shiny lipsticks should I buy? You gotta stick to the moisture glaze. And I know it's a pain because the Suqqu are not available in the States, so you gotta go through Selfridges or Liberty London and pay just insane delivery fees. But let me tell you, if you ever decide to buy Suqqu like once, and maybe some beauty buds could join in on the purchase where you chip in on the delivery charges, I think it is worth it. Because if you like these types of shiny, balmy lipsticks that can go from barely there color to like a little more color. We have control in terms of the intensity and how you want your lipstick to appear. The Suqqu glaze is unmatched. And these are the refills, right? If you wanted to take a look at the component, I have it here actually, you will have to buy this separately. And once you do, you just plop it in, take off the cap, and this is the lipstick. More modest in packaging, 100%. But man, this formula is just unmatched, in my opinion. If I had to get rid of the Gucci Glow and Care, the Brit Shiny lipstick, and now the Givenchy, Addiction Tokyo makes a great shiny lipstick as well, I have to say. I have that in my lipstick roundup short I did. Not all the formulas are the same, but the colors are similar if you want to take a look at some of those swatches just to get an idea of it. But man, this is by far my favorite out of all of them. I'm still keeping the Givenchy because it's pretty, right? When you see it all together, maybe pair with the eyeshadow and blush that works out, it's like, okay, I could get down with this. Now, sticking with Givenchy, we have the Prisme Libre 4-color press powder, a highly anticipated product that was available during the Sephora sale. It was new to Givenchy, and initially my color 04 sold out. The FOMO that struck me at that moment was so immense, I couldn't even tell you. Fortunately though, it did restock and I was able to grab it. I was teetering between 4 and 5, but decided on 4 because I wanted I typically rely on my setting powders to not only have a blurring effect, but a brightening effect as well. And I thought number 5 wouldn't deliver that for me. It would just deliver the blurring and the setting, but I don't think it would have been brightening enough for under eye. So that's why I decided on 4. We're looking at $59. It is Givenchy ultra blurring, mattifying, and color correcting 4-color pressed powder for an all-day natural. Did I like not paste the rest? For an all-day natural look? Is that what they meant to say? 7 shades in all-day natural matte wear, all-day preserved hydration, instantly blurs imperfections, 4 colors to correct a unified complexion, weightless formula, bare skin sensation, resist caking and creasing on the skin, 7 inclusive harmonies designed for all skin tones, integrated brush and mirror for touch-ups, dermatologically tested and non-comedogenic. Okay. So we get the gist. It's a great powder. When I first applied this powder, I was like, oh, this is nice. But when I applied it today, I really took my time and explored again with different brushes. I do recognize not only the ultra blurring effect this powder has on my skin, but how it left my skin incredibly soft. I mean, velvety, plush soft. And I decided to apply this on top of the Burberry concealer and not the Gucci. Because the Gucci, I didn't think a great candidate for this demonstration because it's self-setting in a way. So I wanted to apply the Givenchy on top of a concealer that could benefit from a little bit of setting if you didn't want a natural finish under the eyes. With all the colors combined, it's giving like a kind of like a light yellow beige, which I don't mind. This is the tone that works for my complexion. I'm in like the medium part of the spectrum, that it will offer brightening as well as evening of tone, blurring imperfections and all that great stuff. And I decided to go in with Amoy, one of the cheek brushes from Sonia's Voyage set by Tissue, because I wanted to see if squirrel hair, which is softer and silkier, what that will yield in terms of application. And I quite like this choice because I didn't want so much powder under the eyes. I just needed a light touch of it, and I swirled it to pick up all the colors. It didn't disrupt the Burberry at all. In fact, it brightened it, it mattified it, all without looking dry, right? And the close-ups you see here, especially when I turn my head and you see the other side with the Burberry concealer unset, there is a distinct difference, right? And I think the pressed powder from Givenchy not only delivers evening of tone, blurring, but also that brightening. Like the color of the powder works in my favor. I think it's a fantastic product, and I'm happy that I gave it another shot, because when I first tried it, I was unsure. I'm like, is this doing anything? No, it definitely does. Now that I'm seeing the footage right in front of me, the powder is powdering, okay? Then I decided to go in with a Koiro Yoshiki highlight brush, the Kakashibu dyed one, because this is dyed Saikoho goat hair and will pick up more product than a gray squirrel brush would, like the Amoy. Picks up a lot more powder in case you wanted more of like an intermediate serving of powder under the eyes. And despite more of a pickup and lay down, my under eyes do not look dry, overly powdered. I enjoy my face looks good. The undertone of all the colors combined from the pressed powder does wonders for my complexion. I don't know how number 5 will appear, right? I'm not entirely sure if it will have the same brightening effect. It probably will have a little more color because of that darker tan shade in the pressed powder, but wanted to see number 4 all over the face, so I had to grab my Chikuhodo and Bobo collab big owl brush. It's a mixture of gray squirrel and Saikoho goat hair, and immediately, yes, took down the shine from the Givenchy Glow foundation. And you see immediately on the face application, it's brightening, evening of tone. It does not interrupt the Glow Serum Foundation shade at all. It actually enhances it. And if I happen to get more tan over the summer, then I'll just keep the pressed powder to the center of my face. No problem. And you're probably wondering, Elisa, how would this compare to the Prada Beauty Reset Rebalancing Setting Powder? Well, I can tell you right now, that rebalancing setting powder with the compact, because you could buy the refill separately, but if you don't have the Prada compact, it will cost you $90. If you already have the compact, just the refill will cost you $60. The refill costs just as more as the entire Givenchy compact with powder, just for some perspective there. And the Prada is more of a hybrid product. It's like a cream to powder. It almost feels like, spongy is not a great word, but there's a little bit of that sponginess to the pan. And because it's a universal shade, I don't think it's going to be completely universal, right? I think at the far ends of the spectrum, people won't be able to use that powder to take advantage of the shade. However, if I were to quickly compare, I do plan on doing more of an in-depth video with the comparisons. However, this specific one, the Givenchy, I think will give you more of a mattifying finish versus the Prada. The Prada, although appears mattifying, I think due to the nature of the cream to powder hybrid formula, the longevity is not going to be the same as a more traditionally formulated pressed powder. So if you're more into the like an actual powder that's not drying, however, because you saw all the benefits that I read from the Givenchy product page, how it's matte but it maintains hydration and all these different things, it's not going to leave your skin looking dry. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, it left my skin feeling incredibly soft. I was just surprised by the texture, not only of how it looked, but how it felt, how it feels now, because I have it on my face for this look. And you can see just from the close-ups, my skin looks great. It looks smooth, it looks even. I am thrilled with this powder, happy that I purchased it, and now will bounce between the Givenchy Press and the Prada Rebalancing Reset, just to get a better idea of the two, how I think they compare. And yes, there will be a pressed powder showdown, 100%. Moving on now to the loose powder. Not a new product like the pressed powder was, but I had to purchase number 3, Voile Corail, or Voile. I just say Voile. I was told you do not pronounce the vowels at the end of French words. This is in coral orange. And again, I grabbed the shade description from Givenchy because they described number 4, Organza Sienne, as a woody orange, and number 6, the Flanelle Rubis, as a brick red. Although they all look similar, the coral is definitely brighter, and you saw from the swatch and now on the application, it leans definitely more of like a bright orange, or more of like a like a pink bright orange on my complexion. And this is the type of shade that I would apply center of my face. That's kind of like the effect I want to achieve. And when I apply Cien Organza, it's hard to tell on camera here because the lights, I think, interrupt how the colors appear in real life, but just from the description alone, woody orange implies that number 4 is going to be more of like that muted orange. And as much as I like the coral shade, for sure, that is like spring, fresh, youthful, summery. If I could just throw that on solo, right? A light colored balm, fluffy brows, we're done with the look. Organza Cien, there's something special about that shade because, as I said, it's like a muted version of number 3, but it still has like a brightening quality about it, but not too much. I think what kept me from buying the Westman Atelier blush duos, I could have bought it at Nordstrom, right? It just so happened the duo that I wanted, I think is Sable and Suede, was sold out on Sephora, and it was sold out, I think. Well, I didn't check. I'm not going to check today. I'm done buying stuff from Sephora, okay? Later down the road, I'll swatch it and see. I heard that it's a beautiful formula, blurring and all that great stuff. I just didn't want to oversaturate my collection with the barely there, just right shades. And that's what Organza Cien is just S tier for. The barely there, just right, with a little bit more. And what I think is so special about that shade. The Corail shade, however, I definitely have to be in that mood for that flushed brightened effect, right? Whereas again, number 4 is a little more effortless, and number 6, I would say number 6 is more effortless than number 3. Despite it being brick red, it's going to give you skin burn, but pretty, without the skin conditions. Again, that's an easy throw on shade for me. I don't regret buying number 3. I think when I wear it or compare it to my other Givenchy shades, this might be like my least favorite out of the 3. That doesn't mean it's not great. Just saying that I have to play with the other types of makeup I have in my collection, because when I see the footage here, you know, and on the close-ups, it's beautiful, but it's peachy and it's bright, right? And there's definitely a place for that color. I think it looks best with a minimalist approach, as I have here on the footage. I got no eyeshadow on, I got no lipstick on, I don't even have my brows on. I just brushed them with my Addiction Tokyo brow toothbrush, and that was it. This is probably where I feel number 3 shines the most. It will be tricky, I think. Well, that entirely, I would probably pair this with Bloom, Natasha Denona's Bloom. Even I Need a Warm, well, actually, I would pair Organza Cien with I Need a Warm. Ooh, that would be one heck of a pairing. Maybe like Apricotine from Viseart, right? So the ideas are rumbling. They're rumbling. I actually plopped it on for this look, and I didn't like the effect. It was just too bright for the brownie, smoky, and the red tone lip. I actually have on Danessa's Blurring Balm Flushed in Spice Latte, which is a warm brown, and I think more suitable for this look I was trying to achieve. So that's where I sit with number 3. And one of you had asked how number 3 compares to the coral shade from the Hourglass Evil Eye palette. Finger swatching loose products is a little tricky, but we could try to do it. Let me get a little more powder here on the finger. So again, this is number 3, right? You can see that there is definitely an orange tinge to it, and it has that little bit of pink, a little bit of pink as well. Here is the coral shade, named specifically Vibrant Coral, from again Hourglass's Evil Eye palette, Holiday 2024, and compared to the Givenchy, a lot more pink. You could see that the Givenchy is a little more coral orange. Personally, what I prefer, 100%. If you ask me to compare or to choose right here, right now, I'm going with the Givenchy. Probably this shade, which is funny how Hourglass would consider this a coral, but compared to the Givenchy, that's wild, right? I would say that from the Givenchy loose blush lineup, number 3, the rose shade, will probably resemble the Hourglass one more, in my opinion. And if you're wondering, Alicia, are you gonna buy any more loose blush? I do have the plum one on my radar. The plum one looks gorgeous, and if I do purchase that, it is a wrap. That's it. I'm not buying anymore. It just has gotten out of control. I'm stuck. I can't help it, but these are just phenomenal as I gushed over them during my March favorites video, which, by the way, if you want to check out, link. Now we have the Saie, the Supersuede. The minute I saw this blush on the early release photos and whatnot, I was excited because it appeared to be like a kind of blush hybrid product. Not just blush, but looking at a little bit of that highlight effect because it's baked just from how the pan dome looks. And also, you can feel just like a little bit of that sheen left behind. Allow me to read from the product page here on saiehello.com. The Supersuede Baked Powder Blush, Diffuse Flush of Color, 6 shades in all. I ended up ordering Chow anyway. I mentioned during my quick and dirty short that Chow appeared super orange in person, but I was just salty about it because they sold out of that shade. So I was trying to make myself feel better about not buying it or not being able to purchase it, but I do still like that type of a look. Super luxurious and super plush, Supersuede Baked Powder Blush is the new standard for baked powder blush. Hand whipped and baked using time-honored Italian techniques, Supersuede has a velvety texture that melts into skin for an impossibly lightweight, diffuse flush of color with a natural blurred finish. Curated palette of 6 shades, Supersuede blush gives effortless, breathable color payoff and works for a wide range of looks. Supersuede is also non-comedogenic, long-wearing, and never patchy, cakey, or dry. I'm happy with Grazie. That is the bright berry. And again, the feel of it, just on the swatch alone, you can see how smooth, running out of our room, how smooth it is. And on the application here, I learned my lesson because on my quick and dirty first impressions, I applied it a little too low on my cheeks. And for my complexion and how I prefer these plum tones to appear on it, I started higher on the hollows of the cheeks, right? And then I brought it down from there. And in my opinion, I prefer this placement with a plum type of a tone. On my skin tone, on my complexion anyway. It gives a little bit of sculpt, but it also has a blushed effect. It lifts the face. It could also be suitable for a little bit of blush draping, although I would reserve that technique for a more pink tone or rose tone blush. I wouldn't even apply blush higher around the eyes with the coral shade from Givenchy. I would keep it either on the center with the coral shade like the Givenchy, but with the berry shade, as found in Saie's Supersuede, definitely applied higher in the cheekbones and then brought down around the cheeks for a more diffused effect, but a little more contoured looking here. I love it. I'm happy with Grazie. I think it's quite versatile. I am a neutral undertone, so I could get away with berries not appearing too bruised on me, but I have to be careful about the placement still, because when I apply Grazie lower on the center of my face, right on the apples of my cheeks, it could have a little bit of a bruised effect. It could. I know that all depends on the brush that I use, how much product I apply. I think berries appear better on me when applied higher. And when Chow arrives, can't wait, Friday, that's a shade that I think center of the face will suit its color, right? Because that's going to be golden brown and we'll have more of like that flushed effect versus the berry shade. So it'll be interesting. Definitely will have comparison stills and all that, and I'll be more than happy to demonstrate Grazie again. And now we've arrived, yes, to the final product from this mini haul. Mini from the store, but overall a quite large haul when you combine in-store and online purchases together. Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Flushed in Spice Latte. Described to be a warm brown. If you're not familiar with this product, it is a cream to powder hybrid where it's smooth on the pickup and just beautifully blurring on the application. It kind of transforms into like a cream powder texture when applied on the cheeks, and the blurring balm technology is in the flushed formula, meaning it combats excess oil and sweat, controls oil throughout the day so the skin appears fresh and even for all hours. So that's the technology in terms of the formula. But the color, my goodness. I used Sonia's Sheer Buffer for this application, and you saw that I worked it from the back of my hand first and then placed it on my cheeks. I just feel that approach ensures an even application of this product, or any cream cheek liquid product for that matter. And this is just remarkable. Again, one and done, barely there shades, just right. I don't mind. I knew I was getting that from Spice Latte, but man, isn't it just remarkable? And a shade that I just had to have. I had to have because it is in this cream to powder formula. It's just silky cream to powder formula that I could actually apply as a base. And if I wanted a little more color, like I could go in with Spice Latte first and then plop on the coral shade from Givenchy, and wouldn't that be just lovely? Right? Because the warmth from Spice Latte, I don't think will interrupt the coral tones from the Givenchy Loose Blush. In fact, it will enhance it. Ooh, wouldn't it just be marvelous with Organza CN number 4? Oh, I can't. Because one of the loose powders basically resembles Spice Latte. Okay? Like, stop it right now. Match made in heaven. And then I actually applied a little bit of the Westman Atelier bronzing drops on top of Danessa's blurring balm flushed, and I'm pleased to see that it did not appear muddy, because I'm sometimes wary when I combine bronzers and blush products. Depending on the undertones for each, it could appear dirty on the cheeks, but I don't think we entered that territory. It looks like a nice fresh tan beige gradient. And for the eyes, do you want to guess what's on the eyes? Ooh. This eye look was inspired by Anna, a Prada beauty makeup artist who I had the pleasure of meeting at a Nordstrom Prada beauty counter event last month in March, and she posted this makeup look she did with the Prada liner in mahogany and the hollow new dimension palette in Primula number 9. So I waterline with mahogany, which I rarely do. I rarely waterline my eyes, but because Anna did it, I had to follow suit, and then went in on the lash line, smoked out the liner first, and then went in with Primula. My gosh, this combination, let me get it, hold on. This combination right here is just to die for. I love it. I look smoked out, then had to apply the Givenchy lipstick because with the red brown going on the eyes and got the red brown going on the lips, the Danessa flushed balm in Spice Latte, and I had to throw on my Byredo highlighter stick for sure, just to bring everything together. And I've been loving everything that I bought in store. Now, I will get to working on video number 2 when my online order arrives, and I cannot wait to try those products. It might be a little bit because I want to try them first. I want to get a good grasp on how I feel about them before I get on here, because I could gush to death, and I'll probably save the gushing for YouTube Shorts because I think that's a more appropriate video format for those types of first impression moments. But for long form videos, I like to give the demonstrations. I like to share comparisons because in the end, I am a makeup reviewer, ish. And I think it's just helpful to provide a little more perspective on these makeup products, right? Especially if you don't have the option or the opportunity to try these makeup items in person. So with all that said, quite enjoying what I purchased in store from the recent Sephora sale, which technically is still going on now until midnight, but by the time this video uploads, we'll be way past that. And my Victoria Beckham Beauty order is also on the way, which is scheduled to arrive before my Sephora order, which will be fun. The minute that box comes in, I'm cracking in, family. And We'll see if I want to do a quick and dirty first impressions of the VBB like I did with my Sephora purchase. Maybe I'll get on camera because I'm just beyond excited to try Victoria Beckham Beauty for the first time. And I think it'll be a lot of fun for you to also get in on that experience in diving in head first. So we'll see what I decide to do, but hopefully this video helped. And if you made it this far, consider liking by clicking that thumbs up, as it helps me immensely, telling the algorithm that I'm worth watching. And if you want to see the Victoria Beckham Beauty video Sephora haul part 2, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you're alerted of when those uploads drop. If you want to check out my March favorites, you could click that video here. And if you also want to check out my 6-look tutorial using Pat McGrath's Petalmorphosis, I can see you in that video down in the comments for this one, and on here again next time.